Something satisfying happened at a company I work with a few months ago. Their AI chatbot gave a customer the wrong return policy. Not wildly wrong, just enough to create a problem. The customer followed the instructions, showed up at the store, and was told, "We never said that." But someone did say it. The AI said it. And when the team sat down to figure out what went wrong, something strange happened. Nobody felt responsible. The developer said the model was trained on the correct documents. The operations manager said the tool was approved by leadership. Leadership said the vendor assured them it was production ready. The vendor said the client had signed off on the configuration. Every single person had a reasonable answer, and not one of them was wrong. But the customer still got bad information, and nobody owned it. This is an AI clone of Ronald, by the way, built intentionally because AI is already how we work every day. And if you are someone who prefers calm, honest analysis of what AI actually does inside businesses, rather than the usual hype cycle, consider subscribing. Because what I just described is not a technology failure. It is an organizational one. And it is happening at companies of every size right now in ways most of them have not even noticed yet. Here is the assumption that gets businesses into trouble. They believe that because AI was implemented by smart people through a proper process with vendor support and internal approval, that someone somewhere is accountable for its outputs. In traditional business operations, there is a chain. A person writes the email, a manager reviews it. If something goes wrong, you can trace it back. There is a face attached to the mistake. With AI, that chain breaks. The model generates the output. Nobody wrote it. Nobody reviewed it. And unless someone built a feedback loop, nobody even sees it until a customer complains. This is what I call the accountability vacuum. Not because people are careless, but because the system was never designed with ownership in mind. We help businesses implement AI and automation, voice agents, workflow automation, systems that genuinely save time and create capacity. That is what our company does. And one of the first things we learned is that the technology is almost never the hard part. The hard part is the moment something goes wrong, because that is the moment you discover whether anyone in the organization actually owns the AI's behavior. Think about it like this. In a restaurant, if a dish goes out wrong, the kitchen knows. There is a head chef, there is a line cook who plated it, there is a server who carried it. If the customer sends it back, the chain activates. Someone takes responsibility and the dish gets fixed. Now imagine the dish is prepared by a machine. The recipe was uploaded by a consultant, the ingredients were approved by procurement, the machine was installed by a vendor, and the dish still goes out wrong. Who fixes it? The consultant says the recipe was correct. Procurement says the ingredients met spec. The vendor says the machine is functioning properly, and the customer is still sitting there with a bad meal. If that sounds like a hit the like button kind of moment, go ahead. It helps more people see this. But here is where it gets deeper. The accountability vacuum does not just create one bad customer experience, because when no one owns the AI's output, no one monitors it either. And when no one monitors it, no one improves it. And when no one improves it, the same mistakes happen again, quietly, repeatedly, until someone outside the company notices. A customer posts about it online. A regulator asks questions. A competitor uses it against you. And the company is blindsided. Not because the AI failed catastrophically, but because it failed in small, invisible ways that nobody was watching. This is the second-order effect that almost nobody talks about. The risk of AI in business is not that it will make a huge, dramatic error. It is that it will make small errors consistently with no one in the room to notice. And the reason no one notices is structural. Most companies implement AI by layering it onto an existing process. They do not redesign the process around it. They do not assign a new role to monitor its outputs. They do not create a protocol for when it gets something wrong. They treat AI like software. Install it, configure it, move on. But AI is not software in the traditional sense. Software does what you tell it. AI interprets what you tell it, and interpretation introduces variability. That variability needs a human in the loop, not to do the work, but to own the output. Here's what I have seen work. The companies that avoid the accountability vacuum do one simple thing. They assign a name, not a department, not a committee, a name. One person who is responsible for the AI's behavior in each critical workflow. Not responsible for building it, not responsible for maintaining the infrastructure, responsible for what it says and does when it interacts with the real world. That person reviews outputs regularly. That person is the escalation point when something breaks. That person has the authority to pause the system if it drifts. It is not glamorous. It is not even technical. But it is the single most effective thing a company can do to stay in control of its AI. Because without that person, you get what I described at the beginning. A room full of people, all pointing at someone else, while the customer sits there holding wrong information. And the frustrating part is, every single person in that room genuinely believes they did their job. Because they did. The problem is that nobody's job included the last mile. The output. The thing the customer actually experienced. That is the gap. And it is not a technology gap. It is a leadership gap. AI does not need to be perfect to be useful. It just needs to be owned. Owned by someone who checks. Owned by someone who corrects. Owned by someone who says, that was our mistake, and here is what we are doing about it. That level of ownership turns AI from a liability into a competitive advantage. Because the companies that own their AI's behavior will be the ones customers trust. And trust, in a world flooded with automation, becomes the scarcest resource of all. So here is my question for you. In your company, if your AI gave a customer the wrong answer tomorrow, who would you call? If you can't answer that in 5 seconds, you might have an accountability vacuum of your own. Drop your answer in the comments. I am genuinely curious how different organizations handle this. Because the ones who figure it out first will not just avoid mistakes. They will build something much harder to copy than technology. They will build trust.